Welcome into Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Pressbox at PressBoxOnline.com. With me as he waits out the storm down in the Bradenton area of Florida is the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. Ross, how are you?
Stan, doing well, buddy. Just preparing for this storm coming in.
All right. Well, I guess you can go to Bill Swaggerty's house if you have
That's
to.
exactly right. I'm going to have him come get me in his boat.
Okay.
There you go.
That's why we had him on tonight. Hey, we're going to talk to former Oriole pitcher Bill Swaggerty and find out what he's been up to the last 35 or 40 years. But first, I got to tell you about the Costas Inn. Costas Inn, of course, everybody in Baltimore knows, is the preeminent place to go to get your steamed crabs, your crab cakes, crab soup. And then they've got a whole host of specials from Monday through Friday. And the food there, Monday through Thursday, excuse me. The food there is just out of this world. It is every night of the week. They're open for lunch and dinner. They got a great bar there to watch games. But during the pandemic, they know, and after the pandemic, they know a lot of people aren't comfortable going indoors to sit and eat. So they've made their curbside business a really thriving part of their business. Go to CostasInn.com. You can order your food online. The menu's online, CostasInn.com. You can pay for your food online. And when you come over to the restaurant, you don't even have to get out of the car. They handle it all for you. They'll bring it to you. Everything's marked. All your bags are packed immaculately. That's the Costas Inn. Do yourself a favor and check them out either live or curbside. All right, now joining us is a guy. God, it's been so long since I've seen you, Bill. But when I started to think about talking to you and interviewing you, I guess after like all the Oriole pitchers that came up through the system that it seemed to work for, you were that next guy, I think, after Storm Davis came up. It seemed like you were the next guy, and then it just, for whatever the reasons were, it just didn't pan out. Is that the way you reflect back on your major league career with the Orioles?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I
Absolutely.
That's
Well,
exactly what happened.
You got guys with Grimsley stuff that were in the show for a long time.
It was just one of those things that happened to a lot of pitchers.
Yep.
I was in the bullpen, and I was never in the bullpen once I got into AAA. I was always a starter.
Right.
But our starting rotation was so strong, there wasn't any room. So I went into the role as the long reliever, you know, to eat up 5 or 6 innings, and they never needed that. You know, they bypassed me almost every game. They went to Sammy for the 7th or the 8th, and then Tippy closed it out, him or Stoddard. So I was just kind of caught on a really, really good team with really, really good pitching. And I think I could have been something somewhere else, but it just didn't work out. It's just one of those timing things.
Do you look back on that whole thing? Have you had bitterness about it? I'm sure you don't now today, but in the years after, you were sort of like, damn it, I could have been something, and it was taken away from me, or I didn't get a real chance.
No, I do think about it from time to time.
Yeah.
I had a scout one time told me that I could have been a number 3 starter on the Cleveland Indians back in that day. They stunk. Okay. But as it turned out, I wasn't playing for Cleveland.
Right.
The other thing that really was against me is Altobelli didn't have any confidence in trust in me, even though I came up in '83 and stopped that skid and put him on a winning track, and we won the World Series. And, you know, I got a chance, but there was one time I didn't pitch for 20 days, and he sent me down after 20 days because he needed me to throw. And there were many times where Elrod Hendricks called the bullpen and talked to Rabbit and say, hey, we're up by 6. It's the 8th inning.
Let's get Swaggerty.
Right. We still have Tippy to close it. Let's get Swag some innings. And Altobelli said, no, I can't take that chance. Now that's from Elrod.
Yeah.
So
Weaver was the same way.
I believe it.
Weaver was the same way. Yeah.
It's crazy how that works. So I got sent down for 10 days. I made 2 starts, got my innings in, got the rust knocked off, came back up, sat in the bullpen again. It was just one of those things.
That '83 team that you were on for a while, they had 2 7-game skids, if I remember.
Yes.
You came up, and then there was a guy named was it Alan Chavez, or there was a guy named Chavez and a Ford that helped stop another losing streak.
I don't know. They had two in the same year.
Yeah,
But I stopped the last one. I don't know who the first one was. Could have been Ramirez.
Ramirez. That was it. It was Alan Ramirez.
Yes,
That's
right.
It. Ramirez. I said Chavez. Yeah.
Who was another starter in Rochester. So we both came up and did that. So it was a wonderful thing.
All right.
The only thing that makes me have a claim to fame.
So you got a ring out of it, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did, which was very nice. They voted me right.
All right. That's great. That's great.
That was one of the things back in that day when I first got with the Orioles. They had guys in AAA that should be in the big leagues. They had guys in AA that should be in AAA, which was an organization's dream to have that. Yep. They would love to have that now. But yeah, a lot of you know, Boddicker wasn't ready in '82. They didn't think, and they just kind of held him back. And then finally he came up, and you know the career he had. Yep. But the thing is, Swags, you were drafted 26th out of college, I believe, correct?
Yeah, out of 4 years of college.
Okay. Now, growing up, did you have aspirations of being a professional baseball player?
I did. That's all I ever wanted to do. All I ever wanted to do was to pitch in the big leagues. And that I patterned my whole baseball career, my whole life around trying to make that dream possible. And I never had a plan B. And I remember my first year in spring training, which was 80, because I got drafted in 79 and went to Bluefield. So then I go to spring training in 80, and they're releasing people, and there's grown men crying in the locker room because they were like me. They didn't have a plan B.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I am not going to let this happen. And by the grace of God and Lance Nichols, I got a chance to play A-ball because I was the oldest A-ball player on the team in Miami in 1980. We had a bunch of young kids.
Oh, yeah. Well, they don't even, drafted, pick 26. They don't even have 26 rounds now.
Yeah, we had 27 then, and I snuck in.
But still, that's really saying something for somebody that, you're drafted 26 and you still got a desire and you don't let that affect your, some guys would let that affect their, how they played and what people thought of them and stuff. And instead, other people just bust their butts. And I'm going to show you that I'm a decent player. I can play. But I saw that, and and being picked 20. What did you think about that? Did that discourage you, or did that give you some
motivation?
Right. To really go out and show them.
No, it didn't. Because I didn't know. I knew nothing about it. I swear, I knew nothing about the draft. I didn't know there were only 27 rounds. All I know is I got picked 26. Now, let me tell you this. This is a very, very true story that happened, and I won't make it long. Jack Sanford was the scout that signed me. So he calls me up on the phone. He says, Bill, this is Jack Sanford with the Baltimore Orioles, and we just drafted you the 26th round. And I said, oh, my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you. He said, don't get excited. We're not offering you any money. If you don't want to sign, I'm going to just go to the next pick. And I said, no, I want to sign. I said, I don't need money. I said, I don't need a plane ticket. I'll drive wherever you want me to go. Let me know. So here, this isn't the end of it. So he says, I'll tell you what, Bill, I'm in Jacksonville right now. I just signed our number 7 pick, Storm Davis. Mm-hmm. And I'm on my way to Haines City to sign our number 8 pick, Freddie Smith. So if you could meet me out on 95 at the Exxon station at 207 and 95, we'll sign your contract on my car, and I can get to Haines City before dark. I said, Mr. Sanford, obviously I don't mean a whole lot to the Orioles right now, but this means a whole lot to me, my parents, my hometown, and I've got the Palaca Daily News reporter waiting on standby to see if we can get a picture of me signing that contract that you see every kid sign.
That's great.
And he said, and I said, Mr. Sanford, I'm 20 minutes off of 95. Just come right down 207 to East Palaca. He said, okay, maybe I'm being a little harsh. He said, give me the directions. I gave him directions. He drives down, reporter's there. We take that picture with my parents standing behind me, signing the contract. He leaves. Jack Sanford stayed for 2 hours, drank my mother's sweet iced tea, and talked about the Orioles. And I think then he realized that I was serious. I was going to make this work.
Right.
And so then he left late and went down and signed Freddie Smith, who never got out of A-ball.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
great
so
story.
it did motivate you somewhat.
Oh, it did. It did
The
because
fact.
because especially when I got to Bluefield and started hearing all the stories.
Yeah.
You know, our number one pick in '83 was Tim Maples. You ever heard of him?
No.
Never made Double A.
Right.
Never made Double A. Our number one pick. He sucked in rookie ball, and he was terrible in A ball. And I'm
Hey,
thinking, you got $63,000.
His
Yeah.
mother might be listening. His mother might be listening.
Mom might
Bill.
be
Oh, I'm so
listening.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I liked him. He's a good guy.
Hey, Swags, growing up, was there anybody that give you any direction, or did just you went on your own here? But was there somebody that you can look back that helped you out and kind of set you in the right direction?
Yeah, it was my dad. And,
Yeah.
and my dad never played baseball. But, he's almost a little bit like Earl Weaver. Didn't play it good.
Yeah.
But he knew how to teach. He knew how to coach. My dad was a great watching how instructions should be given and then give it again. He taught me how to wind up. He taught me how to pitch. And he told me growing up, only good things happen when you throw strikes. If you can't throw strikes, you can't win. And I carried that with me all the way through until 1982 when I got to big league spring training for the first time on the 40-man roster. And I happened to watch Jim Palmer throw a side session. And when he threw a side session, he threw 100 pitches. And his plant foot landed in the same dadgum spot every single time. And I remember thinking, I cannot believe these mechanics. Curveball, fastball, slider, changeup. He landed his foot in the same spot every time. And I mentioned to him about that. I said, Jim, the key to throwing strikes is having good mechanics. And I said, my dad always taught me, you can't win if you don't throw strikes. And you know what he said? He said, that's true until you get to the big leagues. When you get to the big leagues, you throw too many strikes up here, you'll get your tits licked. So what he told me was, up here, Swags, you throw pitches that appear to be strikes.
Right.
You want them a little bit outside, a little bit inside, a little low. They want to look like they're strikes, and they got to move.
You got to know how to throw balls.
I remember when I was starting in broadcasting, and I got pretty friendly with Ray Miller. And one night I'm talking to him about what the hell's wrong with Storm Davis all of a sudden. And he used the term that he's too true to the strike zone. Meant that that's all he was doing was pouring strikes in there.
Too many strikes, yeah.
Too many strikes, and the hitter never had to fear anything or anything like that. I want to ask you, Bill, follow much of today's game the way things are taught today, the new analytical approaches and things like that?
I try to.
Yeah.
And the more I listen to it, the more mad I get.
Well, my question, do you get mad because you don't understand it? You think it's BS? Or are you mad that you didn't have somebody that could have taught you how to optimize what you did best, maybe?
Definitely not the latter.
Okay.
I get upset because they're too much analytical.
There's too much analytics.
Too much. They're looking at spin rate, and they're looking at the fact that they can't throw a complete game because they might hurt their arm. The Oriole way, Ross, back when you were playing and I was playing we long tossed after every start. We ran our butts off because we needed the endurance, and running our butts off got that blood flowing. We didn't have those sore arms. I mean, it's just ridiculous these days that these kids throw 100 pitches and they're scared to death they're going to hurt their arm. That drives me crazy. No, I like the old school, the old way. Every time I was handed the ball, I did not want anybody to take it from me except the catcher to congratulate me on a complete game.
Right.
It's interesting. What was it like coming up and playing even a small part on a championship team in '83?
It was absolutely unbelievable. It was a dream come true. The first two big leaguers that I ever got a chance to talk to, other than passing them in the locker room, was Ross Grimsley and Don Stanhouse when they came to Rochester for just a few weeks before the roster was expanded, because they came down to go back up. And you get to, and this was '82. So it was kind of like crack cocaine. If you ever got there, you got to have more. Have more. You can't not go back.
That's a good way to describe Ross Grimsley and Don Stanhouse, like crack cocaine. I think they sized you up. The reason they were nice to you, they sized you up as somebody they could go drink with. That's what
Maybe, maybe. But no, it was fantastic. I remember the thing that I think a lot of the clubhouses that the Orioles have had in the past have lacked is chemistry, and we had fantastic chemistry. It was one of those things that everybody was pulling for everybody, and everybody was sacrificing themselves or their at bat for the good of the team. And on Sunday afternoons we always played a day game, and we had a standing invitation at Eddie Murray's house for crowds after every game.
Every game.
And there would be 15 guys there of the 25. And the only reason the other 10 weren't there is because they had family in town or they had made other plans. We did stuff together as a team that I don't see them doing anymore.
Yeah, right.
One of the things I remember about the Orioles, Cedric Mullins wears number 31 right now. But from the early 50s, Harry Burkeen, the pitching coach, number 31, George Bamberger wore it, Ray Miller wore it. There were only 3 pitching coaches, major league pitching coaches, over about a 30-year period. There were only 3 pitching coaches. The Oriole way, part of what made it succeed was that they taught everybody at each level to do sort of the same things, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
There was a constancy to the teaching. How is that screwed up today in sports?
I don't understand.
Baseball?
I don't understand how they're not doing it today.
Yeah.
They taught our bunt defense. They taught every signal. They taught every rundown, every cutoff, every relay from rookie ball to the big leagues. And so when you went up a classification, you weren't learning something new that a new coach has taught. No, this is how we do it up here.
Right.
It was consistency and continuity from rookie ball to the big leagues. And I don't have any understanding why they don't do that now.
Well, some of the coaches don't even teach at the minor league level. They don't say nothing.
But it's funny.
Good
from
point.
1985, when Ray Miller got the Minnesota managing job, from 85, that's 37 years. I'll bet you we've had 40 pitching coaches in those 37, something like that, 45 pitching coaches. It's really crazy. There were 3 of them from 1954 to 1985, and since then there's been 45 of them.
Right. Yeah.
And Ray Miller started in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
He started in the minor leagues with the Orioles, and one of the things, Leo Mazzoni, who's a friend of mine, I was with the Atlanta, and I knew when he came to Baltimore he was destined to fail, because the guys at the big league level were never going to buy in to what he did and what he set up. And now Atlanta had some great players, but they were in the minor leagues with him.
Yeah.
And the things he did in the minor leagues, they did it the whole thing. I mean, I went through it. I took it to Seattle. I took it to the Giants and did some of that stuff, and it worked. But what happens is he comes to the big leagues. Big leaguers ain't going to do that. They were taught at the minor league level to do it, and it just carried on over. But I knew he was destined to fail, because that they weren't going to do that at the big league level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're talking with Bill Swaggerty, former Oriole pitcher. Bill, you still stay in touch with the Orioles through fantasy camp and things of that nature. You make some appearances.
Yes, sir.
Once in a while. Do you still get a good reception from Baltimore baseball fans?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. It's the thing that amazes me the most is I'm classified as a common player. I know that. I only have a year and 43 days tenure spread out over 4 seasons. I still get fan mail. I get 3 or 4 letters a week. I can't imagine what guys like Ross Grimsley and Cal Ripken get.
Yeah, let's go Cal Ripken. Yeah, do that.
I love the way you lump that together with.
But it's true. It's been good. I keep in touch with the fantasy campers, because they're huge avid fans, and they go to every game. They're season ticket holders. And Bill Stetka keeps me involved. And I'm going to come up next year, and I'm going to do a couple Utah streets. And I really, really miss my time with the Orioles in Baltimore. I'm not going to come back because I love Florida. But
hey, Swags, Swags, I was just with Gulliver and 40.
They called me on the way home today.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh God, we had a blast. It was a great time. But anyway, I told them, I said, out of over 120 something years, Major League Baseball has been in existence. I go, how many players have ever played in the big leagues? And they going 150,000. I go, no, you'll never
Like 30,
guess.
is it like 35,000 or something like that?
22,840 guys.
They're the only ones
Swags.
that have played in the big leagues?
Yeah.
22,000, less
That's
than
it?
23. Yes, you're number 14,792.
Woohoo!
So that tells you right there. And that's with guys that have 20 years and guys that have 1 day. Only less than 23,000 have played in the big leagues.
Wow.
Those
Pretty
guys didn't. They said that's impossible. I go,
Didn't
oh
know
no,
that.
it's not. It isn't. I
Yeah.
mean, you were 13 or 14,000 something. I was 13,000. But that's amazing, and
That's
that
pretty
is
cool.
And that's what that says how hard it is to get to the major leagues.
Yes.
I mean, over that, Stan, isn't that amazing? Over that
It
length of
is
time,
absolutely amazing. Absolutely
that's
amazing.
got to be less than 1% of
Yeah.
the. But that is really something. I told them, I go, guys, you're in a special group. People can say what they want about major league players, but the worst major league player is better than probably anybody you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I remember the first time I walked into Memorial Stadium. I met the team in Chicago when I got called up. Then we went to Atlanta. Then we came home to Baltimore for 3 days, and then I got sent down. But when I walked in the stadium, somebody yelled, I don't know who I was walking with, but somebody yelled at the guy I was walking with and said, "You suck." And I busted out laughing because if that guy had any idea what it took to get here,
Yeah, right. Oh, God.
the worst player in the major leagues doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you
got
take
that.
every high schooler in the country, every junior college in the country, every four-year school in the country, and see who gets drafted, and then I tell them that pyramid gets really steep at the top.
Yeah, it does.
The guys that make it, it's just a little teeny tiny point up there.
Bill,
So it really is
recently-
amazing. And sometimes I forget that because I didn't have a great career.
Yeah,
Bill,
really.
in the-
I appreciate you saying that, Ross. Thank
Very
you.
special, man.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
special.
In the last couple of weeks, baseball, minor league baseball they've been granted the ability to unionize, and they have unionized minor league baseball. Are you aware of that, Bill?
I did hear something about it, but I haven't read up on it. I don't know how great it is or
How tough was it playing in the minor leagues? I mean, in terms of where you live, getting nutrition, getting the transportation.
It was tough.
Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so I was drafted in '79. I go to Bluefield, West Virginia. I'm making $600 a month. Of that $600 a month, I've got to pay for an apartment, I got to pay utilities, and I got to eat. And there is nothing left for entertainment. There's no movies going out of that. I mean, I roomed with Storm Davis, and that might have been the only reason why I got by, because his parents would feed him money. Mine didn't. My parents didn't have money to feed. But we got $10 a day meal money. A day.
Okay.
I remember waiting for that paycheck because I hadn't eaten in a day.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I played with a lot of guys that left because of that. It was just we were poor.
Yeah.
And we just could not eat enough. You couldn't spend enough to eat enough to grow muscle. It was terrible. And then I go to A ball and I get $11 a day. Then double A, I get 12. And finally we got 13 in Rochester, and I thought I was rich.
You hit the
$13 a
jackpot.
day. Yeah. It was really tough. The bus rides are horrible.
Oh,
In the Appy League, we were riding school buses. I'm riding with my best friend at the time was Kyle Hawthorne. He was a first baseman drafted out of Texas A&M. He was telling me they had their own plane. The baseball team had their own plane, and that's how they flew. And we're riding in a dadgum school bus
oh yeah.
and happy to be there.
But it was a great time, though, wasn't it?
It was.
You never
It
because
was.
hey, Swags in 1969, my first year, it was $600. It was the same. It didn't change. Never changed. But I'll tell you what, the minor leagues were some of the greatest times in my career. I don't know, I know it was a lot of, but I lived with 5 guys at one time. I didn't spend a lot of time in the minor leagues, but the time I did was very memorable, and everybody was basically the same.
Yep.
trying to get the same dream and stuff. But it was a
you
lot of fun.
who'd you live with, Grims? I mean, did you live with anybody else that really made it?
I didn't live with them, but the same team. Me and Don Gullett, Milt Wilcox were all on the same team
Okay.
at one time. And Nardi Contreras, who became a major league pitching coach.
Yeah.
Greg Riddock became I think an assistant general manager. There was a lot of good guys with the Reds. But yeah, it was what. And I agree. There were some problems, and the money wasn't good. But I really think we didn't even notice it that much at that time.
I agree.
And it was we were so thrilled to just be there.
We were still chasing our dream.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, and I really think in this day and age, they have made this out to be much, much, much worse than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly worse. It's not as bad as if we had it.
God, no. But I mean, you got buses with big screen TVs, Wi-Fi, sleeper buses, and it's not the greatest thing in the world. I know that, but it's not as awful as they make it out to be, as the media has made it out to be. Yeah, they make it sound like the guys are standing on the corners begging for food. That's just not true.
No,
that isn't true.
And you're right. Some of my best memories are minor league memories.
Absolutely.
There's no question about it.
Mine as well. Yeah.
Bill,
in all the years I lived in Rochester, you know who my roommate was? And I was in Rochester for parts of 5 years. Richard Bancells.
Richard Bancells was your roommate.
Yeah, bro.
God,
he was from Key West and I was from Florida, so we hooked up. As soon as I got to Rochester in '82, he said, "Swags, you need a place to stay?" I said, "I sure do." And so Miss Carol, she cooked our lunches, she cooked our dinners.
Right.
So I had it really great when I finally got to Rochester because of the Bancells.
Well, he didn't invite me to Stan house. We just took over his house.
You did. You took over the house. That's exactly right. In '82.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it at that.
What kind of baseball town was Rochester back in those days?
The Red Wings, they had a nation. The Red Wing Nation was serious. They poured out, man. We played in front of full house, packed house all the time, even when we weren't great. '82, we weren't good. '83, we were pretty good. But we had some really decent teams, and they packed the house. Rochester is a great town.
Right.
Had some good players there.
Yes.
There was a backlog of players that should have been probably in the big leagues with a lot of teams. Yeah.
That's exactly right. You look at the legends that we had playing. Nobody was going to go up and play shortstop. Nobody was going to play first base. Look at the center field. T-Bone luckily got up at the right time.
Right.
And Larry Harlow. Harlow was an outstanding center fielder.
Yeah.
Jim Fuller, big home run hitter guy.
Rochester was full of people waiting on people to fall, get hurt, or get old. And it didn't happen for a long time.
It didn't happen that often. No.
Right.
When you think back to your career, was there anybody that you saw play, a teammate that you said, this guy's really going to be good, and you were right about that?
Yeah, I have one. Cal Ripken. Okay, now
pretty good one.
I'll tell you this, because when I got there, I joined the AA team in May. I was only in A ball for 5 weeks, and I got called to AA. So I'm in AA with Cal, and the thing that was that made me understand, number one, he was his dad was in the big leagues, but I don't know how good Cal was until I saw him firsthand.
Right.
So pitchers hit fungos to the infielders, during batting practice, and if he ever made an error during the game, we all went, "Holy crap. Now we got to hit 100 ground balls to him," and we did. Yeah. Every time he made an error, we had to hit him 100 ground balls. The other thing that made me realize that he was destined is that he always wanted the batting practice pitchers to throw the pitches on the outside corner low, up and in. He always worked on pitches that he couldn't hit or pitches that he had trouble with. Everybody else wanted to groove him right down the middle. Let's count how many home runs I can hit out during BP. Cal worked on everything that he had trouble with or that he needed work on. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, at that point, as a AA player, I'm 2 years out of college. Yeah. That was impressive.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
It's funny. That reminds me a little bit. Kid that they drafted #1 this year, Jackson Holiday, the Orioles. His
Yeah.
dad was a major league player, Matt Holliday, who I'm sure you've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
of. Yeah. Mike Elias, general manager of the team, said that last summer he was barely like first round material. And he decided, this is an 18-year-old kid, decided he wanted to get into conversation to be number one. And he worked with his father and his uncle hours and hours and worked on specific problems he had in his game. And he was able to change himself into a guy that got drafted 1-1. That to me is all I need to know about his character as a baseball
I agree.
player.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, Bill, we really appreciate your coming on and talking to us about the life and times of Bill Swaggerty. Are you retired now?
I am retired. I'm living on the St. Johns River, loving life.
All right. And you're still friends with Bill Shaw, who takes my money every year in fantasy baseball.
Yes, he tells me that he does.
Yeah.
He takes your money every year.
Every year.
And yes, me and Will are very tight. He is a great
All
guy.
right. He's a great guy. I like Bill a lot.
Thank you.
We thank Bill Swaggerty. Ross, we'll talk soon. Okay.
You got it, buddy.
Something for next week.
Thanks, Ross.
Orioles.
Swags, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
Orioles play the Red Sox tonight. It's Jordan Lyles against Corey Seabold, going at 7:10 on one of the Masson stations. For Bill Swaggerty and Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan, and we thank our friends at the Costas Inn, where they do curbside, right? Order it online at costasinn.com, pay for it online, and pick it up. Don't even have to get out of your car. We'll see you guys down the road. Thanks again, Bill.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.